8 years old, couple cane posts sitting down by the creek. Lines in the water, watching those bobbers, seeing that red sun sink. Mama's on the porch yelling supper's hot, y'all come and get it. We yelled 5 more minutes. At 16 it was 12:03, standing at her front door. And Katie's dad said midnight, but we needed just a little more. Yellow light flipping on and off, interrupting that good night kissing. We wanted 5 more minutes. Time rolls by, the clock don't stop. I wish I had a few more drops of the good stuff, the good times. Oh, but they just keep on flying right on by like it ain't nothing. I wish I had me a pause button. Moments like those, Lord knows I'd hit it and give myself 5 more minutes. 18, turned my helmet in, walked to the 50-yard line. Just the coach and me after we lost 10-9. And I cried, man, next time to get in here I'll have to buy a ticket. Can't you give me 5 more minutes? Time rolls by, the clock don't stop. I wish I had a few more drops of the good stuff, the good times. Oh, but they just keep on flying right on by like it ain't nothing. I wish I had me a pause button. Moments like those, Lord knows I'd hit it and give myself 5 more minutes. In 86, my grandpa said there's angels in the room. All the family gathered round, knew the time was coming soon. With so much left to say, I prayed, Lord, I ain't finished, just give us 5 more minutes. Time rolls by, the clock don't stop. I wish I had a few more drops of the good stuff, the good times. Oh, but they just keep on flying right on by like it ain't nothing. I wish I had me a pause button. Moments like those, Lord knows I'd hit it. Yeah, sometimes this old life will leave you wishing that you had 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
Daddy taught me how to throw a curveball the summer I turned 13. First base, first taste of finding a song on my old 6-string. I wish I'd known then what I know now. Yeah, I guess we all do. It wasn't very long before I found out life throws a pretty mean curveball too. It'll get you high, it'll get you low. That's just life and how it goes. Well, Daddy was gone by the time that I felt my first heartbreak. Good Lord, that good Lord sure can give and sure can take. Wish I'd known then what I know now. I guess we all do. Now there's pictures on the wall up and down the hall of me and her saying I do. It'll get you high, it'll get you low. That's just life. And learning and playing and working and healing and hurting. It's praying and cursing. One thing's for certain, that's just life. Yeah, that's just life. That's just life. Yeah, that's just life. The songs will last, the tears will flow. The good, the bad will pass. As the sun coming up in the morning, the sun's coming up in the morning. So love and live and take it slow. No matter where you're at, just know that the sun's coming up in the morning. That's just life. Yeah, that's just life. That's just life. Just like it'll get you high, it'll get you low. That's just life and how it goes. It's blessings and burdens and lessons and learning and playing and working and healing and hurting. It's praying and cursing. One thing's for certain, that's just life. Just life, that's just life. Yeah, that's just life. Some things you can't change, some things you can't explain. You gotta give it to the Lord. That's just life. Yeah, that's just life. Some things you can't change, some things you can't explain. You gotta give it to the Lord. That's just life. Yeah, that's just life.
Praying for me and praying for him. And Rich did know he was loved very much. Your prayers were felt and they were answered. I had some pretty tough conversations with the Lord this week. And the scripture that Reverend Wheeler read about Philippians 4, he did state, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything with prayer and petition, tell your request to God. Believe me, in the hospital this last week, I talked to God a lot. And about midway through that last week, just like the scriptures say, it says, and the peace that surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ. There was a time in which I did feel peace. And it was more like, it's kind of like the peace that passes understanding. You don't even know why, but there was some peace. Rich was facing a really long, hard struggle. I mean, they told us in the beginning that it was a cancer that was pretty aggressive. And he had a choice to try to beat it. They said there's kind of a chance, and you're pretty strong, but they gave us a lot of side effects that could happen. And he chose to go through that pain because he wanted to extend his life. And I kind of feel like the prayers were answered, because instead of having about 9 months of pain, he only really had to have about 1 week of pain, because in between the different things, he was going to have to be in isolation because he wouldn't have the red and white blood cells to fight the infection. So it was going to be a long, tough road. I want to especially thank Rich's siblings for coming to support, came all the way from California to celebrate their brother. Carolyn, Mark, Ron, and Zoe, thank you so much for being here. Rich loved a lot of things. Some things that people probably didn't know, all the different hobbies. And as you guys got to browse the stuff, my friend Pam, she did a wonderful job of taking boxes of stuff that I just gathered up at the last minute and making a piece of artwork out in the hallway. Kind of being able to describe a lot of his different hobbies. But he loved baseball and car racing. He started his love of photography being a photographer in the pits at the car races. And he grew up in a wonderful family with 2 brothers and 2 sisters, Mark and Ron and Carolyn and Stephanie. So he was the oldest of 5 kids, kind of like me. We had a lot of similarities. And he told me one time that his little sisters would give him a hard time at times, but his dad had strictly forbidden him from retaliation. So he learned early on how to be kind to women, even when they were frustrating. And this did come in handy for great training for his life with Cheryl, because he was always very, very kind to me, even though he was sometimes frustrated. For me, the best word I can use to describe my husband is kind. He was always so kind to me and everyone he met. I remember when he first met my son, Andrew. Andrew, of course, was checking him out to see if he was going to be good enough for his mom. We had a ping pong table in the back room. Andrew was very good at ping pong, so he challenged Rich to a game. After they'd played several games, Andrew said to me, "Yeah, he's okay. Not like the other guys you dated. He seems to be like a regular guy's guy." And he did hold his own with me in ping pong. Well, what we learned later was that ping pong and bowling were varsity sports in Rich's high school, and he had lettered in both of those sports. My son Charlton once commented that he'd never seen me as happy as I was with Rich. Rich's career of choice was retail management, and he was also a great management of our finances. He truly had to love me, because he married me without even asking my finances. And a few months after being married, he came to me and he said, "Honey, I know you've done this on your own for a long time," but he said, "and I know you're visual, but I just have to ask you this. How long did you think you could make this much money and spend this much?" He said, "At some point, we've got to be able to make this much money and spend this much." And I said, "Well, you've got a business degree. You want to take care of our finances?" He was like, "Oh, yes, please." So for 25 years, he has taken care of our finances and done a great job. And I'm hoping I can just carry on what he taught me. I also remember our first and probably only fight in 25 years, if you guys can believe that, to be married to somebody and not ever have a fight. But this first one, we were only probably married maybe 3 or 4 months. And I was kind of, you guys that know me, I'm kind of a bulldozer. I had been on my own for a while, and so I'd make decisions, and I blah, 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 and just go along. Well, somewhere I crossed the line, and I don't even know what it was about. But I had never seen him be angry. And so he was kind of getting mad at me, and I started laughing and smiling and saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know you could get angry. I'm so glad that you have that emotion. Yes, I'm really happy." And he's like, "Not what I really was thinking was going to happen here." And so we basically made a pact. I said, I don't always have to have my own way. I said, if you feel strongly about it, then state what you're thinking and end the sentence with, I feel strongly about it. And I said, I will back off. I make that promise to you. If you say, I feel strongly about it, I'll back off. He goes, anything? I said, anything. Well, in 25 years, he only used that phrase twice, and it was only because we had one TV and he wanted to watch a special program that I wasn't watching. Even at that point, he said it with a smile. So he was always my number one support. He volunteered at Leonardo's for events and whatever I needed. In fact, as you saw in the slides, Leonardo's was a special place for us because that's where we even got married. Rich has helped out in a multitude of ways, Healthy Living Center. Besides greeting and giving tours, he's helped teach the beginning pickleball lessons and has even helped keep the center's website up to date. So if any of you guys are out there want to help keep the website up to date, we really don't want February's to be February and it still says December program directory on the website. The center was good for Rich. He'd always been a little quiet. He started playing pickleball, met friends, and one evening told me that he had to go back the next day at 2 o'clock because he was going to teach pickleball lessons. And I paused and basically looked at him and I said, you do know that if you're teaching, that means you're going to have to talk out loud to people. And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, who is this that I married? The center just brought out the best in him. He started volunteering and breeding people. And the last few years, he just was so happy. He told me that he'd always kind of been shy in high school and maybe didn't think he was good enough. And the people at the center loved him for him, accepted him for him, and he felt comfortable there, and he blossomed. His hobbies include photography, guitar, technology, bowling, and taking care of his dogs. As you saw on the slides, one of his favorite activities was taking a nap with his dogs. The theme, basically, of this celebration is through his eyes, and you can see his photography. It tells the story much better than any words could say. Rich saw me in my best light. He saw the world in the best light. He was kind, supportive, and loved me unconditionally. Thank you, Rich, for loving me. At this time, Reverend Wheeler's going to open it up, and they're going to take the microphone around. And if any of you guys, friends, family, would like to say a little story, we'd love for you to do that.
A moment of pastoral privilege to let you know that so that as many people as want to share can, please keep your remarks concise. If it goes longer than a minute or so, I'll just look at you and go, and you'll know that. But we do want as many of you to share as you can, and certainly give you that opportunity. So hold your hand up and stand, or else just pop up and I'll find you. This is a wonderful thing about technology. Here we go. By the way, family members get as long as they want.
I don't know what life is going to be like without my older brother on the earth with us, but I'm Carolyn, the next in line. I have a twin sister, Stephanie, who couldn't come today, and then my brother Mark, my other brother Ron, and his wife Zoe are here today. But I know Rich, he was so happy. He was such a happy guy after he came out here and was accepted. And he loved Cheryl, he loved the dogs, and we heard so many stories about the center, you know, where he volunteered and all the things he did there, and the pickleball wives, and the, you know, all the little stories he told. He had a good time. It was the beauty of cell phones is that it makes it easier to stay in touch. But growing up with Rich, he was like you keep saying kind, and he was not an intrusive brother, or snotty brother, or anything. he didn't bother us too much. My mother didn't allow us to tease each other, so, you know, Rich got a zinger in every once in a while, and one of them I remember is he must have been maybe 16, 15, 16, just starting his photography venture, developing film in the hall bath. And I had a girlfriend over one day, and we're sitting at the kitchen table, and my mom's in the kitchen, and Rich, he comes out, and he plops this, you know, I'm a preteen, you know, and he plops this can of developer down in front of me, and I didn't quite understand at first, but apparently he thought I needed help with developing. And so, and my mom laughed, she chuckled, and it was kind of the first time I really thought of my brother as being, you know, kind of cool. And the next time that really solidified the cool deal was he brought home the first rock and roll album that came into our house, and it was Dave Clark 5. And oh my gosh, he put that on the stereo in the living room, and we just thought that was all that and a bag of chips. So, and he was, you know, he hung out, my girlfriends had come over, and he was unobtrusive, and he was not in your face, pay attention to me, but he was just always around, and he was just a great guy, and I don't know what it's going to be like without him. I know it's kind of long.
Oh, I said family members are the exception. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes. First.
All right, I'm gonna try. If I can, mostly because of my voice, but I think if I can go at this tone, I don't know where my voice went this week, but I never called Rich Dad. I was nearly headed to college when I first met Rich. I always called Rich my mom's husband. Andrew and I were both so happy that Rich had come into Mom's life, and we were a little leery of how she met, you know, through the internet. Nowadays, we just know that they were pioneers, right? Like they were way ahead of the curve on that one. My wife and I met through the internet too. Rich was a kind man. Like everybody said, he was a kind man, and to my mom and Andrew and I, and I knew she was always we knew that she was gonna be okay. I mean, we were both leaving home, and I think like for us at the time, you know, that was the big deal. We were moms, you know, we took care of Mom. I still never called Rich Dad, but he became Grandpa to my daughter. He was a good grandpa. And he was a good father-in-law. I loved him very much. I know he did everything he could to be a great husband to you. And he's a rare person. He's the kind of people that we should all want to be like Rich. We should all be kind like Rich. Rest in peace, Rich.
Amen.
I'll try to be as succinct as I can. My name is Jacob. Rich was my uncle. Anyone who has known me for a long time knows that art has been a big part of my life. Photography has been a big part of my life. And Rich was one of the very few people, not just in the family, but in my life with whom I could share that interest on a very one-to-one equal level. He was not the grown-up looking down as I was learning about this thing that he'd spent longer than I've been alive doing. And he always gave me that support. He was always that interest. He gave me a camera when I was younger that really helped me learn a lot. And as everyone has in the family, everybody has always been so supportive of each other, so encouraging of each other, and I owe a lot to him. I owe a lot to Cheryl with all the time that I spent at you guys' house growing up, all the time at Leonardo's, all the support over the years, and I want to take this opportunity to express all my thanks to Rich and to implore to everybody here, be kind, be there for others. If you have the chance to see someone flourish in something you love, give them an extra hand. And I know that if the opportunity ever arises, I will try to share that same kindness with others, because that's what he would have done, and I think what he would have wanted. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rich's brother, Ron. Rich was 7 years older than I am, and so we didn't really hang out a lot when we were young. But a couple of things I remember is one of the advantages of having an older brother is I could sneak into his room when he wasn't home and read his car magazines and listen to his albums. Just one other thing I remember more recently, several years ago, Rich and I exchanged a little bit of text trashing talk when the Thunder were playing the Warriors in the playoffs. And of course, you know how that ended, right? But he was very magnanimous in defeat, so I appreciate that.
Very good. I saw a hand back here.
Well, Cheryl, I wasn't going to say anything because I thought, well, maybe this is not well known. But Charlton opened the door, so blame him. I met Cheryl right about the time that her and Rich got married. And one of our very first conversations, oh, really? Well, how'd you meet him? She says, over the internet. And I said, you what? You can't do, what, do you know what can happen? And I really read her the riot act, but as it turns out, it was a very successful story. And my husband and I, and Rich and Cheryl, we double dated. Sometimes we'd have dinner at her house, and sometimes mine, sometimes we'd go out, but I'm really gonna miss our double dates.
Thank you. I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and test float my tagline for one of those dating services. The Son of Man, he was single, but you can meet your match on Christian Mingle. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I thought that might go over. Been saving that for a while. Thank you for laughing. Whew. All right. Anyone else? Yes, back here. Will you all pass that to her, please?
Hi, my name is Claire. I work at Healthy Living, and I capture a few words on behalf of us that, we met Rich there. I first met Rich as Cheryl's husband, as he started out at the center as Cheryl's husband, and the last year or so, there's even been Rich, and then even who's Cheryl? He really did come into his own, and I've heard Cheryl talk about that, and I love that, but the sentiment over the last few weeks has been, he's just the nicest guy. He's just the nicest guy in the building. And he was always willing to do anything. He taught pickleball. He managed the website. He even started working at the front desk when we got in a pinch. And, that just captures who he was. He met people where they were. We had some great conversations that will be missed. We would always visit a lot when he was waiting on Cheryl to finish up something in the office real quick, and there's a lot of time to visit when someone's waiting on Cheryl to finish something at the office. So, You know, he's one of the treasures that has come through our door, and he'll be missed. Cheryl, we love you. We're here for you. Rest in peace, Rich.
Any others over here? We all pass that down.
I was fine till I thought I could talk. So, just wanted to state how we did love him, how he was part of our amazing community at Healthy Living Center, and I just want his family to know how much we appreciated him and enjoyed him, and I loved hearing his music. When he would turn on the speaker, I would come down the hall and I'd say, "Yep, Richard's here." And then he would have the music on, sometimes country, and I would say, "Oh, please, Richard." And I remember one time when I was walking out the door, I said, "Hey, I'll see you back later." And he says, "Thanks for the warning." So he had a great humor. He had a lot to give, and we really appreciated and loved him, and always will. Thank you, Cheryl, for bringing Richard to us.
Thank you. Any others? I should pass it. Thank you.
This is really hard for me to get up here and talk in front of people, but I have to say, Rich is one of the kindest, most gracious human that I've ever met. He never left the center without a smile. He just was always radiant. He loved Cheryl with all his heart, and he was a never-ending faithful servant for our Healthy Living Center. He did teach pickleball lessons in the very beginning. He was willing to help with anything. Always a smile, always one of our favorite people to play with at our center. He will be missed by all of our pickleball friends and many others at our center. Cheryl, you have my blessing. He was a wonderful man. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll get you next.
My name is Mike, and I'm a personal trainer at Healthy Living Center. I got a chance to train Rich, and after a couple of weeks of training, he'd be giving people a tour around, and I would walk up to him and I would tell the new guests, "See that body? I did that." I said, I saved his marriage, I saved his career, and Rich was just kind enough to go along with it. Say, "Yes, he did, yes, he did." On behalf of all the trainers at the center, everyone said the same thing. What a sweet man. What a sweet man. And that's how he'll be remembered.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, I agree with everything that everyone else has said about Rich. Every time I sit down at my dining room table, I think about Rich. When we first moved into our place, we bought a small dining room table because we had downsized, and we were having trouble putting it together. So I called Cheryl, and she and Rich came over and helped us put this dining room set together. Then every now and then, I would have them over for dinner. We'd sit around and have dinner, and Rich would have his Diet Pepsi, and we'd play a game called Try Dominoes. And boy, talk about competitive. And he was so nice about it, though, and he would win. He'd say, "I'm out," and he'd just smile, that sweet smile of his. Like, "Oh, that's really wonderful." And then he'd do it again the next time. But every time I sat down at the dining room table now, I will always remember his smile and his friendliness.
Thank you. You want to say something?
All right, so anybody here that's a Hallmark movie fan? Do you ever watch Hallmark movies? Well, I have to tell you one more thing because this is just something that it's a little miracle. But when we first got the diagnosis, we didn't really even know how bad it was, but we knew we had a road haul, and a very special friend gifted us with movie passes to go to this movie theater where you can sit in these comfy chairs and they bring you food and that kind of thing. And it was just a real romantic date. But the best part was when it was over, and you have to know there was no snow predicted in Oklahoma City that day. But we walked out of the movie theater and there was just like a Hallmark movie. There was these big white flakes coming down, you know, and they were on the cars and that kind of thing. And so of course we had to kiss at that point because, you know, that's what you do in a Hallmark movie when the snow comes down, right? But it was just a wonderful, wonderful last beautiful date. And I'm going to give it to my sister and then we'll have a benediction.
Thank you all for coming, and every one of you here, it's obvious that Rich loved you all.
Thank you. I'll offer a prayer and ask you to join me, and then I'll send us forth. Let's pray. God of love, we thank you for all with which you have blessed us even to this very day. For the gift of Rich when he was healthy and strong, and for your gifts and abiding presence in days where he was not as strong and was in pain and grief. We praise you for home and for friends and for community and for our place among all those who have lived and died faithfully. Almighty One, into your hands we commend your son, Richard Allen Swanson, in sure and certain hope that just as you accompanied him every moment when he lived and breathed so kindly among us, you still accompany him now and forevermore. And in that hope and confidence now we join our voices aloud, those who wish to pray the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Richard's family wishes to invite those who want to. Maybe you didn't get a chance to see some of the neat memorabilia out there in the narthex, or maybe you just want to linger a minute longer and share some refreshments in the narthex for the next several minutes. I know that would mean a lot if you're able, and I just wanted to give you that invitation. Now, we've made a lot of these decisions spontaneously with this family. Am I going to lead you out, or are you going to just lead yourself out when you feel like it? Okay. We're going to pray. I'm going to send you forth with this blessing. We're going to turn music on, and you're all going to do what you want. Okay. Would you rise if you're able in body or spirit for this sending forth? And now may the peace of God, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge and the love of God. And may the blessing of God, the Creator, Son, and Holy Spirit be among you and remain with you always. Amen. Go in peace.